We welcome all of you to another interesting episode on literacy. India being a multilingual country, English as a language has been recognized as a tool for communication, and now more so with the world becoming closer in this era of digitization and global exchange. However, for children who come from the educationally underserved communities and pockets where English is not the first language spoken, this can pose as a huge challenge. If we really want to achieve literacy and numeracy goals envisaged by the policies like Nipun Bharat and the National Education Policy, then what are some of the aspects that we need to focus upon, whether we are teachers, caregivers, peers, as well as the community as a whole? In today's talk, we will attempt to address these questions. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome our speakers to throw more light on this topic. Ms.Radhika Nadkarni is a dental surgeon by qualification, but her passion for education led her to Muktangan in 2015. In 2016, she was appointed leader of the English Department, a role that involves overseeing and ensuring smooth functioning of the department in alignment with the organization's goals and mission, empowerment of the community, keeping in mind child and teacher friendly practices. Ms.Sandhya Amin has always been passionate about teaching and has been an educator for the past 15 years. She has experience working with different organizations and has been associated with Muktangan since the past 7 years as the lead faculty of the English department. Her role requires her to be part of several English language development programs conducted by the department, and she has also actively contributed to various outreach programs. Ms.Archana Arlekar is from the very first batch of teacher trainees and has been a part of Muktangan since its inception in 2003. She has successfully taught from preschool to grade 10 and later was appointed as the subject faculty. Ms. Archana has been actively involved in outreach projects with the MCGM teachers and Zilla Parishad schools, and currently as the lead faculty, she is responsible for the in-service teacher education program, English proficiency sessions, and curriculum planning from Standard 1 to 4 and Standard 9 and 10. I've been told that when teaching English to children from the community, the biggest challenge to overcome is the development of language anxiety and the lack of confidence that basically prevents a child from acquiring the language successfully. And there are many reasons for this, which is exactly what we are here to discuss, and we would really love to know more about this from you all. Thank you so much for joining us in this discussion. Uh, I'd like to begin by asking and learning a little bit more from you, Ms. Archana, about how do children firstly learn a language and what role does language play in a child's life?
Yeah. Language plays a vital role in a child's life, no matter which language a child uses for communication. Language is defined as a system of symbols. The primary aim of any language is for the purpose of communication. Language helps a child to express his or her needs. It builds connections. Children acquire language that is their mother tongue from their surroundings. They hear from their family members or neighbors and try to imitate or speak to express their needs. However, to learn any foreign language, the child should be exposed to various methods of learning and repeating the grammar rules. Language learning is not just a matter of acquiring the skill of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, but it consists of developing a communicative competence where these skills can be used. Talking about English, today in India, English is changing its status from bureaucratic and elite language to one which plays an increasing role in the lives of all citizens. According to the national poll, it has been found that 87% feel that knowledge of English is important to succeed in life. English in India has become a symbol of people's aspirations for quality in education and a fuller participation in national and international life. The visible indicator of this presence of English is mushrooming of private English medium schools. The knowledge of English allows for easier access to higher education and employment opportunities.
That's really wonderfully put because I think the two key points you've brought out is that English or any language, if we talk about, it plays a very important role in communication and expression and building connections.
Yes.
And it's not just like how English has been perceived as an elitist language, the
Correct.
whole paradigm is changing now. We are looking at it more in terms of bringing people from different backgrounds together in a manner where there is more exchange between people.
Absolutely, exactly.
And reflecting upon my own schooling, the way we learned grammar, I
Yes.
sometimes I feel, it's so abstract and there are so many concepts that I've not fully understood.
Correct.
But because we are speaking and we are communicating, it then becomes a part of our daily conversation.
It's like you acquired the language.
Yes.
Yeah.
And language is extremely abstract as compared to conceptual subjects like, say, math or science. And keeping the English language in mind, what are some of the disconnects and challenges in literacy skills that are acquired by children in the primary years? And considering that many of the children come from backgrounds where these opportunities aren't available.
Yes, Shruti, you're absolutely right. This is a big challenge that we educators face today. Our children being from the community, basically there is a basic lack of exposure to the English language in their daily surroundings outside of the classroom. And this, I feel, is the biggest disconnect in achieving literacy skills in English in our children. There are many challenges that we face in our day-to-day running of our schools. To mention a few, we see that the state textbooks at the level 1 and 2, grade 1 and 2 level, focus less on listening and speaking skills, and they fail to build a familiarity with the language. They do not really immerse the child in the language. As regards to skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, it is seen that most of the state classrooms emphasize more on developing reading and writing. And teachers just feel that listening and speaking will just slip in and it will happen automatically, which actually is not true, because in the initial years it is very important to stress specifically on listening and speaking experiences, because that is where language learning begins. Also, a print rich environment is not evident in many schools. Children do not get opportunities to listen to English or even speak it, in their daily schedule. Not enough TLMs, that is teacher learning materials, are used effectively. They are not displayed correctly. And we also find that libraries in many schools are inadequately equipped or they are underutilized. Another big disconnect that I find is that schools fall into what we call as the textbook trap. Instead of treating the textbook as a tool, as just a framework which you rely on, teachers and students are entirely dependent on textbooks while transacting the curriculum. They adhere only to the written word and the printed instructions. Teachers need to move beyond the text and allow children to explore and elaborate on the topics that they are being taught. And in many state classrooms, we have observed through these years that even though the medium of instruction as per state policy is English in the classroom, a lot of teachers resort to the regional or local language to facilitate a child's learning. So there is more of the local language being spoken than English immersion happening. And another thing is that the main focus in our classrooms is on questions and answers. And it is mostly the teacher who asks the questions and the children have to answer, the students answer. They are not encouraged or motivated to ask questions, which I feel is something we definitely need to overcome, because questioning is what shows a curious mind. It opens a child's mind. It gives them respect. It brings in the 21st century skills of communication, confidence, collaboration. It also brings a lot of insight when they discover things for themselves through the questioning process. And I really believe that questioning is an essential skill that a child must master. Lastly, but not the least, I do feel that more effort needs to be laid on developing general reading skills among students, like it is stated in Nipun Bharat. They have to be reading. And we need to encourage writing for communication and self-expression. It has to be a form of self-expression that a child needs to understand, that if I write, I can communicate. That what I speak can be put down on paper. We need to allow a student to participate in his own learning process and encourage and motivate our parents also to be part of our child's journey. I think this pretty much sums up what are the disconnects which are there in our system, which we are looking at today.
One is the application of the language, that only if we apply the language to our surroundings, with different people, we start speaking more. That's when we acquire the language to a great extent, and that also then reduces the anxiety that many
Yes,
children face,
yes.
because there is so much of hesitation, whether, and because this also comes from the focus of whether am I speaking correctly or
Correct.
incorrectly. So that fear is always there in the minds of
But only
people.
if you speak and listen to
Yes.
the language correctly will that change
Yes,
and
yes,
read.
absolutely. And that's what, like you shared, listening and speaking, these are the skills that needs to be
Need to be
focused on
focused
to
on,
a great extent.
especially
Yes,
in the early years, in the
absolutely.
foundational years. Yeah.
And what are some of the strategies and classroom practices that have been instituted to mitigate these disconnects and challenges that you threw light upon?
In Muktangan, we truly believe that teacher and student engagement is critical in a classroom because it has the power to define the entire learning process. The curricular inputs are through a prescribed textbook, which is absolutely true, but learning is also influenced by the ways in which the curriculum is transacted and the conditions in which the transaction takes place. In our schools, I think we have created our own unique environment for learning in Muktangan. We pay attention that first and foremost the class is well ventilated, there's lots of natural light. A teacher student ratio 1 is to 15 goes a long way in ensuring that the curriculum is transacted effectively, involving participation of every child. We surround our children with a print rich environment. In our classrooms, we have lots of charts, models, word walls, labels, displaying of children's own work. There is a lot of speaking and listening which goes on. Then, movable furniture helps us create space in the class center to conduct activities which allow children to sit in circles for informal group discussions and spoken interactions.
Yeah. So I would like to add to this, keeping in mind that listening, speaking experiences are an essential part in language learning process. As part of our daily curriculum, we lay stress on activities like storytelling, picture talk, show and tell, talking about meaningful experiences. These form an integral part of our curriculum. Singing songs, poems, nursery rhymes form an important part of our primary classes. Every week, the children participate in a constructive play sessions wherein the children are allowed to choose an activity that they want to do. They plan it and they execute it and then review it with their teachers. This allows for development of 21st century skills of critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, confidence, and communication. A child takes his own decision and is a part of his learning process. Our children love this session. As far as writing is concerned, we encourage and give importance to writing for self expression and communication. We have independent writing sessions with children from standard 1 to 4, which are completely unguided and where a child is free to write on any topic of his or her choice. In our libraries, sufficient books are available for the children at their grade level. Big books, small story books with large print, pop-up books, etc. We also have media support, blended learning using various digital platforms. There are projectors set up in all our classrooms. So these are some successful classroom strategies that form a part of our daily curriculum.
I think there's so much of sensory integration from whatever you shared just now. The using videos, audios, different types of books. I used to, particularly when you said pop-up books,
Yes.
I remembered those books that I used to read in my childhood,
Yes.
and I used to love, opening those pictures and seeing what is
What is
written,
written inside?
and it was so much fun learning.
That's exactly what it is. Allowing a child to handle a book, even though they can't read, but
Yes.
they make associations of the
Correct.
picture with the written word.
Correct.
That is where it begins.
Yes.
So giving them books to handle, letting them read, just go through the books is so important.
Yes, and even games and lots of tactile activities
Yes,
where children can actually build connections and form associations with the language, and that's what makes the learning experience
Yes.
uh,
More meaningful.
more enriching for the child. And even the environment, like you spoke, whether you're talking about even the classroom, how it should be with print rich environment and light coming into the class, I think that is something that nobody really focuses upon. but the light coming into the class is extremely important.
I think Liz Mehta Mauna has really thought of everything, and
Yes.
we started from the basics moving up.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's part of what Muktangan is.
And print-based classrooms are always fascinating for students.
Students, correct?
It's so attractive.
Yes.
Yeah, with all the color and pictures.
And subconsciously they are taking in
Correct.
what they see.
Correct.
So learning happens even that way.
Absolutely. And I think that's what is the key takeaway from our first episode, where we're saying that actually language exists in our environment and it's there everywhere.
Everywhere.
And we're absorbing it consciously sometimes when the teacher is guiding us towards a certain concept or a topic, and even subconsciously when we're looking at things around us and we're absorbing the language.
Correct. And I think our children need to make this connection that it is all around me, and if I learn this, I will also be part of this.
Yes. Thank you so much for throwing light on this topic and guiding us more about how these challenges are being mitigated in really innovative and creative ways in Muktangan. And we really look forward to discussing more with you in the coming episode. And we request all our listeners to stay tuned. Thank you.